Welcome to the radio. What time is it where you are tonight? And where are you listening from? I hope the room around you is quiet and still, and that something in the air feels just soft enough to settle into. This is Quilloren Radio, where memories take their time, and sleep comes gently, without hurry. Tonight's story brings you back to the summer of 2003, a summer when you were still small, still barefoot more often than not, and still part of that group of neighborhood kids who didn't need plans or phones to find each other. The days stretched on forever, and the evenings ended with scraped knees, wet socks, and pockets full of gravel. That summer would end, like they all do, but you didn't know that yet. Without further ado, let's begin. It's early afternoon, and the heat is already sitting heavy on the sidewalk, softening the edges of the day. You're standing just outside the house, where the screen door closes with a snap behind you, and your shoes tap lightly against the concrete. There's no breeze, just a thick, warm stillness that smells faintly of sunscreen, cut grass, and something vaguely sweet that might be melting in someone's backpack. A cicada starts up somewhere in the trees with a long, mechanical buzz, like nature's version of dial-up internet. You step onto the familiar path that leads around the neighborhood, your feet moving more from muscle memory than direction. The pavement is cracked in places, forming faded lines you and the others used to pretend were lava or rivers or boundaries between kingdoms. One of the cracks near the curb looks slightly wider than you remember, as if the street itself has sighed a little deeper since yesterday. The mailbox at the corner still leans to the left, and someone has drawn a smiley face in chalk beside it, though the eyes have already begun to smudge. You head toward the usual spot, a patch of grass wedged between three backyards, unofficially owned by none of them and claimed by all of you. The trees here offer just enough shade to feel like a fortress, and the ground is uneven from years of stomping, digging, and occasionally dramatic collapses during poorly structured games. There's a half-deflated soccer ball tucked under a bush, and someone's red plastic bat lies near a pile of pebbles arranged into a circle with surprising symmetry. The circle has no clear purpose, it just exists. A bike lies on its side near the tree with the dented bark, the one someone once claimed had been hit by lightning, even though it looked more like someone had simply rammed into it one too many times. The handlebars are sticky with some unknown residue, and there's a baseball card clipped into the spokes that flutters weakly when the wind thinks about showing up. No one's here yet, but that's fine. You're early, or they're late, or both. Time doesn't matter much today. You wander a bit, your steps dragging through patches of dry grass and soft dirt. There's a piece of string tied around one branch, frayed and faded, maybe once part of a swing or a trap or something else, long forgotten. A bottle cap glints near the roots, pressed partway into the soil like a coin offering. You crouch to pick it up, then change your mind and let it be. It belongs to the scene now. Behind the nearest house, a sprinkler ticks lazily, throwing arcs of water across a patch of lawn that's greener than the rest. The sound blends with distant dog barks, a lawnmower 2 streets over, and the occasional rumble of a delivery truck that will not be stopping here. A single cloud, large and lumpy, moves with no urgency across the sky. Its shape is hard to pin down. Part duck, part loaf of bread, possibly a shoe. You squint at it until the sun edges around the corner of your vision, and you have to look away. From somewhere nearby, you hear the creak of a rusty gate and the thump of something wooden falling over. Probably the fence again, the one that's missing a slat and leans just enough to be interesting. You glance in that direction and see nothing new, but it doesn't matter. These sounds are familiar. They belong here. Your shirt sticks slightly to your back, and there's already a faint line of sweat gathering just under your collar. A breeze finally stirs, but it carries more warmth than relief. You sit down on the grass, legs stretched out in front of you, and pick idly at a weed poking through the dirt. Somewhere, a bee loops lazily around, not interested in you, but not entirely ignoring you either. It floats in and out of sight, like it's checking off a list. The shadows begin to shift just a little. Not enough to cool anything, just enough to suggest that time is passing. You lean back on your elbows and let your gaze drift upward, past the branches, past the slow-moving cloud, past everything. For a moment, the world feels like it's paused. Not stopped, not frozen, just gently holding still. A voice calls faintly in the distance, someone asking if anyone's seen their blue flip-flops. You recognize the voice, one of the usuals. Another voice answers, equally far away, and there's laughter. The kind that doesn't carry any particular reason with it. It's just there, light and unbothered. You stay where you are, knowing they'll arrive soon enough. They always do. Someone will bring a pack of playing cards they won't use. Someone will try to organize a game that ends halfway through. Someone will insist on being the referee, then wander off. And someone will show up with a bag of snacks they clearly weren't supposed to bring, already half-eaten, melted slightly around the edges. There's something comforting about the way the afternoon unfolds, not in a rush, not with plans, just with the quiet agreement that this is where everyone will be, eventually. You let your head tilt back further and close your eyes for a moment. The sun presses against your lids, warm and drowsy. The earth beneath you feels dry, flat, and familiar. You hear the crunch of footsteps now. 2 sets, then 3. A bike chain rattles. A laugh echoes. Someone says, "You're already here?" As if it matters, which it doesn't. You open your eyes just enough to see them rounding the corner, one holding a juice box like it's contraband, another dragging a jump rope behind them like a leash. One of them waves with both arms, like a landing signal, then immediately trips over nothing. They recover with the kind of exaggerated grace only a child can manage and pretend it didn't happen. You sit up and dust your palms on your shorts. They're here. The day has started now, even though it never really hadn't. You can already tell someone's going to get a grass stain, and someone's going to cry over something that will be forgotten in 5 minutes. The rhythm of summer is intact. And for now, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. The group doesn't really start moving so much as it begins to drift, like mist rolling down a shallow slope, pulled more by shared instinct than any decision. Someone suggests going around, which could mean 3 different routes, and no one bothers clarifying. You all just head in the same general direction, shoes scuffing against concrete and bikes squeaking faintly as they roll beside the walkers. The first stop is the Jensen driveway, where the pavement dips at a strange angle and makes any ball game slightly unfair, which is exactly why it's perfect. Someone throws down a flattened cardboard box and declares it a base. Someone else complains it's too hot to run. No one argues, but no one leaves either. The basketball hoop here is mounted low, supposedly because of insurance reasons, but it's become more of a hat rack for forgotten shirts and a nesting spot for an occasional bird. The group fans out loosely. One kid wanders toward the bushes, probably looking for the tennis ball that vanished last week. Another starts drawing an indecipherable maze in chalk that immediately smears underfoot. You try to bounce the basketball, but it's underinflated and makes a sad, apologetic sound every time it hits the ground. It doesn't matter. The rhythm of the afternoon continues. Someone finds a plastic sword, dirt still clinging to the hilt. It's cracked and bent. but there's a brief, ceremonious passing of it from hand to hand, as though it might be needed for some urgent, imaginary mission. The smallest kid insists on holding it upside down. No one corrects him. It seems to work either way. A butterfly lands on a shoelace and stays there longer than expected, causing a brief, whispered moment of awe before it flits away. The kid whose shoe it landed on announces they are now good luck, which earns a shrug and a snack exchange from the others. The rules of value here are fluid. One bite of a granola bar might be worth a turn on the scooter. A single gusher could be traded for custody of the bubble wand, but only until someone drops it. You all move again, this time toward the hollow near the end of the street, a pocket of overgrown grass and uneven stepping stones that someone's parents were supposed to mow months ago. It's not exactly hidden, but it always feels slightly secret. This is where you've buried things before. A time capsule that was just a cereal box with 4 items inside. A paper map of the neighborhood that tore in the rain. And once, a stick that someone insisted was important. The grass here is taller, brushing your ankles. There's a discarded jump rope coiled like a nervous snake, and a pair of sandals left behind at some unknown point. No one claims them. They've become part of the terrain. A half-broken lawn chair stands near the fence, tilted so far to one side it can only be sat in, ironically. Which, of course, someone does. You wander toward the stones near the back, stepping carefully so they don't tip. The moss growing between them is stubborn, soft, and slightly damp. Someone says they heard a frog here once, which prompts several minutes of completely unproductive listening. A bee buzzes past someone's ear, resulting in an exaggerated duck and roll. When everyone sees it's harmless, they decide to pretend it was a tactical move instead of a reaction. There's no goal, no destination, just motion. The day expands in lazy, crisscrossed paths, each small corner of the neighborhood visited not because anything needs to be done there, but because that's just what happens. You pass the house with the rubber ball stuck permanently in the gutter. You peek over the fence with the birdhouse that's always empty. Even though everyone agrees it looks like it should have at least one bird. You stop by the tree with the weird knot in its bark that someone once swore looked like Abraham Lincoln's profile. It doesn't. The sun begins its slow tilt toward late afternoon, and everything feels slightly dimmer, like the contrast has been turned down. Shadows stretch across the pavement in long, thin stripes. You step between them like you used to do with sidewalk cracks, for no real reason other than the comfort of doing so. The others join in, a quiet parade of limbs and balance, each one pausing briefly as if trying to remember what game this was, or if it even was one. A sprinkler comes on suddenly near the edge of a lawn, hissing out in rhythmic pulses. There's a moment of debate, go around or run through. The decision is made the way all important summer decisions are made, impulsively and with minimal discussion. Shoes slap against wet pavement. Shouts of half-faked protest and full laughing defiance ring out. The mist clings to your shirt, cool for a moment, before the heat folds it back into the air. Grass sticks to wet calves. Socks are sacrificed. You slow down again after that. The noise fades. You and the others regroup in the driveway of someone's aunt's house, a place you're not technically allowed to hang around, but she's never home anyway. There's a broken swing set here with no swings left, just the metal frame and one chain that makes a lazy clicking sound in the wind. You all sit, lean, or sprawl near it, a tangle of damp clothes, plastic toys, and elbows. No one talks much. Someone chews loudly on a freezer pop. Someone else pokes at a line of ants without any clear objective. You trace shapes on the dusty ground with your finger, loops and spirals that disappear as soon as they form. There's a contentment here, not from excitement or activity, but from the shared stillness after motion. The heat feels less sharp now, more like a weight gently pressing everyone toward the earth. A dragonfly darts past. You all follow it with your eyes, but not your bodies. No one has the energy for that right now. Someone says, "We should do something," but doesn't suggest what. It doesn't matter. The day is doing plenty on its own. You lie back, arms behind your head, watching the sky turn the lightest kind of orange. Somewhere, someone's mom is calling out a name, but it's not yours. Not yet. And so, for a little while longer, the world stays just like this. Quiet, slow, filled with nothing but everything you need. There's always been one place that draws everyone back when they need to regroup, even if no one says it out loud. It's the garage at Alex's house, not because it's nice, or big, or even all that clean. It's just always open. Not fully, of course. The garage door only goes halfway up before getting stuck with a groan, leaving just enough space to duck under. No one's fixed it in years, and at this point, no one wants them to. Inside, the concrete floor smells like dust, old motor oil, and the faintest hint of peanut butter crackers. There's a tower of cardboard boxes along one wall, none of them labeled, all of them slightly sagging from humidity. A folding table holds a tangled mess of cords, water guns that may or may not work, and a radio that only plays one station, and not particularly well. The dial never moves, and no one really tries anymore. There's also a couch, or something pretending to be one. It's a sagging two-seater that looks like it was abandoned by its previous owners mid-argument. The cushions are sunken unevenly, and the upholstery is a shade of green that doesn't occur naturally anymore. You've never seen anyone sit all the way back on it. Most people perch near the edge, legs swinging, elbows on knees. Someone has drawn a smiley face in Sharpie on the armrest. It's crooked and mildly threatening. This garage is not exactly comfortable, but it is consistent. It's where everyone ends up when the sun is too hot or the ground too itchy. It's where kids disappear into the shade and reappear with a handful of crackers or a plastic sword that had gone missing for a week. There's a standing fan in the corner that makes more noise than wind, rotating only when it feels like it, which isn't often. Still, everyone takes turns sitting in front of it like it matters. The breeze is mostly psychological. You duck under the garage door and are met with the familiar dimness. It takes your eyes a second to adjust. The space is cluttered but familiar, like a thought you've had 100 times but never said out loud. There are folding chairs with permanent dust on them, a basketball net leaning against the wall, and a scooter with a wheel that squeaks in Morse code. Someone's old backpack hangs from a nail. No one claims it, but no one moves it either. It's become part of the decor. Alex is already here, fiddling with a half-broken Game Boy that only works if you press the batteries in just the right way. He barely glances up when you enter, just gives a small nod that means, "You're here." Good. The others file in behind you, each bringing in some piece of the day, damp socks, grass stains, gravel in their shoes. Everyone fans out, taking their unofficial spots. You head for the milk crate near the couch, your usual seat. It's warm from the sun earlier, but not uncomfortable. You lean back against the toolbox behind you and let the hum of the fan wash over your ears. Someone is crunching a snack with unnecessary force. Someone else is trying to open a can of soda without it hissing too loudly. It's not working. There's a fizz, a flinch, and a laugh. Then there's Ella, who's rearranging the same shelf she always rearranges. It's not her shelf. It holds exactly 4 items: a roll of duct tape, a Nerf dart, an empty jar with a button in it, and a ceramic cat missing 1 ear. Every time she comes in, she quietly lines them up by height or color or emotional value. No one knows. No one asks. But everyone notices when the order changes. Someone once moved the button to test her. She said nothing but didn't speak to anyone for an hour. In the far corner, hanging from a hook, is the rubber chicken. Its origin is unknown, and no one remembers who brought it. It squeaks when bumped, but only sometimes. It has no purpose. It just exists, a silent, mildly unsettling guardian of the garage. There was once a brief effort to name it, but the group couldn't agree between Gary and the professor, so it remains nameless and oddly dignified. You pull a pack of cards from your pocket even though no one ever finishes a game. It's part of the ritual. Someone starts shuffling. Another tries to remember how to play war or spit or some hybrid of both. The game begins with energy and collapses within minutes. The cards end up in a messy pile on the table, where they stay until someone knocks them over by accident. The quiet builds. Not silence, but the good kind of quiet. Fan hum, shoe scuffs, idle chatter. The kind that wraps around the group like a blanket. The air is cooler in here, or maybe it just feels that way. You can smell someone's grape-flavored lip balm, which mixes questionably with the peanut butter lingering in the air. The light from the half-open garage door creates a sharp beam across the floor, catching dust in a way that makes it look dramatic, like something important should happen. But nothing does. You glance at the corner where the dinosaur lives, a small green plastic stegosaurus that reappears in a different spot every visit. No one admits to moving it. It's been found on the shelf, inside someone's backpack, wedged into a shoe, and once, somehow, balanced on the fan. Today, it's sitting calmly on the edge of the couch, staring into the middle distance like it's contemplating retirement. Someone opens a bag of mini marshmallows and offers one to the group. No one refuses, but no one really wants them either. They're slightly stale. That seems appropriate. You sit back and let the day slow even further. There's no schedule to keep, no plan being missed. Just the sound of everyone breathing in the same lazy rhythm, sharing the same warm air, the same space, the same hour that will eventually pass unnoticed. Out there, the sun still shines, but in here, in this musty, half-forgotten garage with its broken furniture and mildly cursed decor, it's always a little cooler, a little slower, a little more like the center of something you won't realize mattered until much later. For now, it just feels like summer. After a while, the noise tapers off. Not all at once, just gently, like how a song fades rather than ends. The group settles, limbs stretched across cooler patches of concrete, voices replaced by the low, steady hum of the fan that's valiantly pushing warm air from one side of the garage to the other. No one is talking anymore. There's nothing left that needs to be said right now. You lie flat on your back near the middle of the garage floor, just far enough from the others to feel like you're alone, but close enough to still catch the soft rustling of wrappers and shifting feet. The ground beneath you is warm, but not hot, holding the heat of the day like it agreed to keep it safe. Your fingers explore the floor beside you, tracing faint lines in the concrete, some natural, others scratched in by bored hands or toy wheels. One line zigzags just slightly, like someone changed their mind halfway through. Your breath slows to match the rhythm of the room. The sound of someone gently tapping their fingers on a cardboard box becomes the loudest thing for a while. That and the fan. Always the fan. Its creaking head rotates to the left, then stops. It won't move again unless someone kicks it. No one bothers. It's fine like this. You tilt your head to the side and watch the dust motes dancing in the golden beam of light from the half-open garage door. They shift in gentle spirals, weightless and slow, like they're performing for no one in particular. The beam is thinner now. The sun outside is dipping lower, softening everything it touches. You can smell the difference, too. Less sweat, more earth. The warm scent of dust, the fading plastic of someone's toy, the slight sourness of juice that's been open too long. Someone lets out a long sigh, not unhappy, just thoughtful. The kind of sigh that belongs to this part of the afternoon, when the energy finally gives out and everything narrows into stillness. A sock is peeled off and tossed without aim. A pair of sunglasses is tried on and removed. No one's doing anything anymore, but no one is ready to leave either. You close your eyes, just to see what it feels like. It's not sleep, but it's close. That floaty space where your limbs feel heavy and the air presses down in a comforting way. You can hear someone shifting on the couch. The springs squeak softly, like they're trying not to interrupt. A quiet game of catch with a squishy ball starts between two kids across the room. The thud is soft and slow. Thud, catch, pause, thud. No one else watches. It doesn't matter if the game lasts or ends or fades into something else. The rhythm is enough. You keep your eyes closed and listen. Outside the garage, the world continues in distant pieces. A car door slams a few streets over. A lawnmower hums into life, drones for a few minutes, then clicks off again. A bird calls once, sharply, then gives up. Somewhere in the neighborhood, a screen door opens and closes. It's probably someone's parent, not yours, not yet. Inside, the only real movement is the slow roll of shoulders shifting for comfort, or someone reaching lazily for the last cracker in the sleeve. It crumbles in their hand. No one minds. There are ants here, and they'll take care of it eventually. The ants are part of the place now, like the fan, like the couch, like the dinosaur. You open your eyes again and catch sight of the little green stegosaurus. It hasn't moved. Or maybe it has. You're not sure anymore. It's just there, quietly observing the room as if recording notes for future generations. It's always been watching, in its own way. You hear someone breathing near you, steady and slow. It's not snoring exactly, just a soft kind of sleep-adjacent rhythm. Another kid rests their head on their folded arms, eyes half closed, not fully awake but not entirely gone. The heat has taken all of you down a notch. There's nothing to chase, nothing to win, nothing to do. Time feels wide here. You don't know how long it's been since you got to the garage. It could be an hour. It could be the whole day. There's no clock visible, and no one has a phone. If someone asked you the time, you'd have to guess based on the slant of the light or the mood in the air. Right now, the mood says, stay put. So you do. The cardboard box beside you gives slightly under your arm. You shift your weight and hear the contents rustle. Old Halloween decorations, maybe, or old wrapping paper. It doesn't matter. You're not curious enough to check. You're not curious enough to do much of anything, really. Just breathe. Just listen. Just be here. From the corner, a radio crackles faintly to life, not because someone turned it on, but because it always does this. It picks a moment, murmurs a few distorted seconds of whatever station it thinks it belongs to, then fades back into static. Today, it offers up 2 notes of an unfamiliar tune and half a sentence about weather, then gives up again. The fan clicks in sympathy. Outside, the sun slips further behind the trees. The slant of light across the floor has shifted. It no longer hits the middle of the room. It's inching toward the corner now, folding up like a napkin after lunch. You know that eventually someone will stand and stretch and say something like, "Should we go?" But not yet. For now, the air remains still, the dust continues to float, and the group stays quiet. Breathing slows. Movement fades. Words become unnecessary. You let yourself melt into the concrete, the warmth, the muffled sounds of a summer day slowly winding down. Nothing moves. Nothing needs to. And still, somehow, everything feels full. If you're still here with us, and this slow drift into summer memories is helping you rest, consider subscribing to Quilloren Radio. Every story brings you a little closer to sleep, one gentle step at a time. Thank you for listening. And now, let's continue. Somewhere between awake and not, you start to notice the light has shifted. It's not just the sun lowering, it's the whole tone of the garage. Like the color temperature's been nudged warmer by a few quiet degrees. The air feels a bit thicker, the sounds a bit rounder. Someone hums a few notes without realizing it, and the melody loops in your head in slow motion, as if underwater. You roll onto your side and watch the dust hanging in the golden light. Not drifting now, but hovering, suspended in a moment that doesn't feel quite real. The concrete beneath you seems smoother than before, or maybe just softer, like the texture has blurred around the edges. Your shirt sticks gently to your skin, and the spot where your arm touches the ground is warm in that oddly specific way that makes it feel like the floor remembers you. A box fan clicks from the corner. You didn't notice it earlier. Was it always there? Maybe. It turns once, twice, then stops at a different angle than before. The breeze reaches you just slightly, like it's considering whether you've earned it. You haven't moved in 10 minutes, so maybe that counts. The stegosaurus, still in view, now sits directly beneath the beam of sunlight. The green of its plastic looks richer, deeper, like it was painted fresh today. It seems oddly regal now, like it has somewhere to be, or a secret to keep. Someone nudges it gently with their foot as they stretch, but the little dinosaur stays upright, defiant in its way. A small breeze passes through the cracked side door, stirring the corner of a dusty tarp. Beneath it, something shifts, the vague shape of a cardboard box or an old storage bin, nudging forward half an inch, like it's stretching in its sleep. You blink, but it's still again. Maybe the wind did it. Or maybe the garage is just remembering things. You hear a faint clinking noise, a metal sound, repeating every few seconds. You sit up just a little and realize it's the wind chimes from the backyard next door. They've always been there, but somehow you've never noticed their specific pitch until now. They sound like a sentence spoken in another language, one that doesn't need translating. Calm, but curious. One of the kids tosses a tennis ball lightly at the ceiling, catching it on the way down, but it doesn't bounce quite right. It feels slower. Not wrong, just hesitant. Like the air up there has changed. The ball lands in their lap with a quiet thud. No one says anything. You glance at the shelf where Ella left the lineup of objects. They've shifted, not dramatically, just slightly. The button jar is now at the opposite end. The ceramic cat faces inward instead of out. No one saw her move them. Maybe she didn't. Maybe the shelf is just having its own quiet thoughts. Outside, the world has softened even more. The birds aren't singing now, not because they're gone, but because they've taken a break, a long break. The sound of tires on pavement passes somewhere nearby, not in a rush, just gliding by like a daydream. It doesn't echo. Nothing echoes right now. You lie back again and watch the ceiling. The wooden beams look a little taller than you remember. Not higher, taller, like they've stretched upward slightly to make more space for the heat to rise into. A cobweb in the corner pulses gently in time with the fan, as though breathing. You catch yourself wondering if this is still today. It feels like an island, but it also feels like it could be a version of this garage from years ago, or from a memory someone told you once, or from a dream that belongs to a version of you who never left summer. The walls feel less solid, not in a threatening way, just in a way that suggests they might not always stay where they are. A noise outside, a single hollow knock, draws your attention. You wait for someone to react, but no one does. Maybe it was a branch falling. Maybe it was a basketball returning to earth on its own schedule. Maybe the day is nudging you gently, reminding you it's still here. The shadows have gotten longer inside now, stretching past the boxes and wrapping around the couch legs like they're settling in for a nap. The light no longer moves straight across the floor. It bends slightly, curving in a way that suggests the sun has started thinking differently about angles. You blink again. The fan is now facing you directly. You're certain it wasn't before. The wind hits your face, warm and steady, like it's trying to speak. You hear a whisper, not words, just the gentle noise of air passing over worn plastic blades. Someone quietly unwraps a piece of candy. The crinkle seems impossibly loud in the hush of the room. It echoes longer than it should, then disappears. The wrapper flutters to the floor and stays there, perfectly still, even as the fan turns again, this time much slower. Outside, the chimes strike one clear note, high and clean, then fall silent again. You stay where you are, unmoving, eyes open just enough to feel the shift. It's not spooky, it's not surreal. It's just soft, a dream layered gently over a memory, pressed down like a favorite blanket that smells a little like every house you've ever known. The garage settles again. The stegosaurus doesn't move. The shelf stays as at island. The fan clicks. You close your eyes, and the ceiling remains just as you left it. Almost, you don't notice the shift until it's already happened. Not a single sound or change in temperature gives it away at first. It's more like the space exhales and everything rearranges itself just slightly when your attention is turned elsewhere. You'd gotten used to the weight of stillness, to the room staying quiet in that suspended way. But now the light outside is thinner, more amber than gold, and the line of it stretching through the half-lifted garage door has started to break into segments, chopped apart by shadows from tree branches that weren't quite in that position before. It feels later than it should, but not in the panicked way adults say when they've lost track of time. This is the good kind of later, the one that arrives after you've stopped counting the day, when the sun is finally leaning down far enough to put its arms around the world and tell everything to calm down. Your legs are still stretched out, shoes off now, one sock missing and probably claimed by the corner. You don't bother looking for it. The air inside the garage feels softer than it did an hour ago. Not cooler, necessarily, but less heavy. It brushes past your arm like someone walking quietly behind you. It carries the smell of dry leaves and asphalt that's finally starting to lose its heat. You sit up slowly and realize that the garage door is now 3/4 open. It doesn't groan or grind like it usually does. It's just higher than before, exposing more of the neighborhood. The tree across the street now throws long, angular shadows that reach just past the driveway. The wind chimes in the backyard tinkle once, but the sound is thinner now, less melodic, like the breeze has stopped trying to impress anyone. Everyone else is still here, mostly in the same spots, but they've melted further into their places, limbs sprawled, heads leaned back, shoes untied. One kid has fallen asleep sitting up, their head tilted at an angle that would be medically unwise if they were any older. Their mouth is slightly open, and their fingers are still holding onto a toy they were definitely not playing with. You watch the rise and fall of their chest for a moment. Slow and easy. It's comforting. Like the world remembered to breathe. A few feet away, someone picks up a flashlight from the old drawer and clicks it on, even though it's not dark yet. The beam flickers to life, surprisingly bright for something so old, and they shine it upward, watching the dust swirl in its path. They don't say anything, just wave it slowly across the ceiling, illuminating half-forgotten items stuck in the beams. A frisbee, a string of lights no one bothered to take down, and a drawing pinned up with tape that's yellowed around the edges. It's a dragon, or maybe a horse, possibly a banana with wings. You're not sure, but it's been up there for years, and you hadn't noticed until now. You lean back on your hands and watch the flashlight drift. When it moves away from the ceiling, it lands on the wall, where someone long ago measured heights in pencil. The lines stretch upward, labeled with initials and dates that stop abruptly 3 years ago. You wonder if any of those kids live here now. Probably not. Maybe they visit. Maybe one of those lines is yours, faded into the concrete like a fossil. Outside, a street lamp buzzes. It's trying to decide whether to turn on. You know the exact moment it will, when the sky turns the color of pencil eraser rubber, that weird shade between pink and gray. It's not there yet, but it's close. You notice something else. The fan has stopped turning altogether. Not broken, just still. The air remains gentle, drifting from somewhere else now. The kind of breeze that's barely wind, more like the air itself slowly scooting over to make room for the next part of the day. You shift slightly and feel a bit of grit under your hand. Sand? Maybe old cereal crumbs. Could be both. Then the smell changes. Nothing dramatic. Just enough to notice. Less dust, more outside. A hint of charcoal, maybe. From a grill someone's just started down the block. The smell of distant burgers or hot dogs. Slightly overcooked, but too familiar to complain about. And under that, the smell of sprinklers just turned off. Damp grass. Warm metal. The beginning of dusk. The flashlight clicks off, and someone yawns. You don't turn to see who. You're focused on the light now, or the absence of it. The sun is barely holding onto the tops of the trees. The garage floor has gone from glowing to matte, like someone turned the contrast down. The dust is less visible now. It's still there. It always is, but it's blending in better. The dinosaur has moved. Not far, but it's now facing sideways, as if it has decided it's seen enough of the center of the garage and would now like to inspect the toolbox. You stare at it for a moment, then blink and decide not to say anything. Someone else will notice eventually. You wander toward the edge of the garage, stepping over a plastic container of unclaimed toys and a pair of flip-flops that definitely weren't yours. Outside, the light is different again. Not golden now, but silvered. The prelude to evening when everything starts reflecting instead of glowing. A few porch lights have flicked on, automatic and indifferent. You can hear the whir of a ceiling fan from someone's back patio and the soft ping of wind hitting a loose gate. A dog barks once, then gives up. You spot a single basketball sitting in the gutter down the street. It looks like it's been there forever. Behind you, the others are starting to stir. Not to leave, not yet, but just enough to acknowledge the shift. One kid stands and stretches, back cracking in a way that earns a few murmured sounds of approval. Another flops down into the milk crate you abandoned, chewing on a marshmallow they found, somehow still inside its plastic wrap. Someone tries to turn on the radio. It buzzes once, then picks up the same fuzzy station it always does. The voice that comes through isn't a song, it's someone talking. Maybe a weather report, maybe the end of a commercial. But the words are soft, almost slurred with static. And the voice, it sounds like it's coming from very far away, not just in distance, but in time, like it was recorded years ago and is only now drifting back. You listen not to the words, but to the rhythm of it. There's a kind of comfort in a voice you can't understand. It feels like someone's keeping track of time for you. You sit again, this time on the threshold between garage and driveway. Half in, half out. Your legs stretch onto the warm concrete outside, while your back rests against the cool metal edge of the doorframe. From here, you can see both worlds, the cluttered, familiar inside and the vast, slowly dimming outside. The light continues to fade, quiet and cooperative. The garage no longer glows. It hums. No one says anything, and no one needs to. The day isn't over yet, but it's not far. And somehow, that feels just right. You stay right there at the threshold, one leg still stretched into the garage where the floor smells like warmth and old plastic, the other out on the driveway where the air is slowly cooling, 1 degree at a time. You're not cold, not yet, but the light outside is softened so much that even the shadows have started to lean, stretching long and lazy over the sidewalk like they're also looking for a place to sit. The others behind you are quieter now. There's still the occasional shuffle of someone adjusting their seat, a crinkle of snack packaging, or a throat clearing that's more habit than need. But the volume has lowered, not from boredom, just from the slow agreement, spoken only by silence, that the day is almost done. And that's when your mind starts to wander. Not about tomorrow or even next week, but somewhere much further out. Not because you're in a rush to grow up, none of you really talk about the future like that. But in this soft, stretched out evening, it feels like your thoughts have loosened their shoelaces and started to roam. You wonder, quietly, what this garage will look like 20 years from now. Will it still smell like this? Like dust and peanut butter crackers and damp socks that got left on top of a cooler? Will this fan, the one in the corner that's managed to be noisy and useless all at once, still be here? Or will someone finally replace it? Maybe in the future there are fans that don't just make noise and pretend to move air. Maybe they hum classical music or analyze your breathing. Maybe they still click randomly, for old time's sake. You glance over at the shelf that Ella always rearranges. The items are still lined up, still carrying the weight of years in their chipped edges and inexplicable stains. The ceramic cat, the lone Nerf dart, the taped-up jar with one stubborn button inside. Maybe someday a different kid will find these things, years from now, and try to make sense of them. Maybe they'll think the jar was part of a science experiment. Maybe they'll think the button was symbolic, like a message left for someone clever enough to decode it. And what about the Stegosaurus? Still perched in the corner, dignified and nonchalant. If someone renovates the garage, will they throw it out? Or will it find its way into a drawer, and then a storage box, and then, perhaps, onto a shelf in someone's office years later, where it'll sit next to boring paperwork and remind someone of a summer they haven't thought about in years? Maybe one day someone will come back here as an adult and spot it tucked behind something, and for a moment they'll stop. They won't say anything. They'll just look at it and remember being small and barefoot, with cracker crumbs on their shirt and the sound of distant sprinklers playing backup to a day that never asked for anything in return. You lean back against the edge of the garage frame, palms flat against the warm concrete, and you wonder, will kids still play outside in 20 years? Will they ride bikes with one pedal falling off and argue over which driveway counts as second base? Or will the whole thing look different? Maybe the neighborhood will be full of sleek, quiet cars and low-humming drones that deliver snacks directly to your hand. Maybe the air will buzz with something invisible, some kind of ambient signal that tells people when it's bedtime or when to hydrate or when to stop playing and focus. You hope not. You hope they still get dirty. You hope there's still a kid somewhere who forgets their shoes and has to run across hot pavement while everyone laughs too hard to help. You hope someone still gets a cut on their knee and wears the Band-Aid like a trophy. You hope there's still chalk on the sidewalks that doesn't mean anything unless you were there when it was drawn. Maybe someone will still measure their height on the garage wall. Maybe they'll still argue about the rules of whatever game no one remembers the name of. Maybe someone will bring a newer flashlight into this same space, shine it on the ceiling, and discover that the frisbee is still there. Older now, but still clinging to the beams like it belongs. What if the garage is gone? It's possible. People change things. They tear down, build over, pave across. Maybe one day this garage becomes a new room, or a small office, or a storage unit too tidy to be interesting. Maybe no one crawls under a half-broken door anymore just to sit on a couch that smells like feet and history. And if that happens, will anyone remember how many summers fit into these walls? Will anyone think to wonder where the fold-up chairs went? Or who drew the dragon tape to the ceiling? Will anyone notice the faint chalk mark on the inside of the door that says, "Do not erase" in tiny, determined letters? Probably not. But you hope so. You look at the others, still scattered loosely across the garage floor, and furniture like someone spilled a box of summer and let the pieces land where they wanted. Their faces are different now than they were at noon. Softer, relaxed, a little glazed, but in the comfortable way. Will you all stay in touch? Will these kids, these friends, whose middle names you might not even know, still be around when you're 30? Will someone become a person you see once a year, maybe at a wedding or a reunion, or an accidental run-in at a grocery store, where you both say, "We should catch up sometime," and mean it, but don't? Will someone move away and send postcards that stop after a year? Will someone else stay in town forever, becoming that person you always expect to run into when you visit? Like a background character the place refuses to let go of? Will you? You wonder if you'll ever sit in this same garage again when you're older. Will it feel smaller? Will the ceiling seem lower? Will the fan seem even more useless than it already is? Or will it still smell like sun-warmed memories and dry cardboard? Maybe you'll find yourself walking past this street someday, long after the names have faded and the chalk has vanished, and you'll pause without realizing it. Your feet will stop. You won't know why at first. And then you'll look at the shape of the driveway, the corner of the roof, the slant of the trees, and it will hit you. Not all at once. Not with drama or music swelling. Just a small, quiet wave that carries with it every hour you spent sprawled on this garage floor. Every summer smell, every shared silence. And you'll remember that once, a long time ago, you sat right here, legs stretched out, sun on your toes, listening to a fan that barely worked and a group of kids who didn't need to be anywhere else. That memory won't be loud. It won't demand your attention. It will just be there, waiting for you, like it always was. The street lamp flickers on. You blink. The sky is almost fully gray now, with just a trace of that pink rubber hue fading into the clouds. The wind chimes whisper once, barely audible over the soft murmur of someone still flipping cards idly in the corner. The Stegosaurus remains in place, and the garage, for all its stillness, feels a little bit fuller. Time doesn't stop here, but it slows enough for you to see it, to notice how gently it folds itself into corners, into stains, into shelf dust and crooked smiley faces, and the specific way summer air clings to old cushions. You take a breath. This might not last forever. But you were here, and that matters. You haven't moved much, but somehow your whole body feels heavier now. Not tired in a bad way, just slow. The kind of slow that means you finally let go of trying to keep track of things. Your arms rest loosely against the concrete. Your legs have slid just a little, still stretched toward the driveway where the warm ground is now starting to cool beneath the soles of your feet. The sky overhead is settling into its final shade of dusk. Not quite dark, but just enough to convince the porch lights to stay on. The fan clicks again. Not the noisy, metallic protest it made earlier, but something smaller. A shift in the wiring, a twitch in its sleep. It doesn't turn. It doesn't have to anymore. The air has already changed. Cooler now, like the garage has been pulled slightly closer to the edge of night. Behind you, the others have begun their own version of slowing down. There's less movement. The occasional shuffle of someone repositioning a leg. A quiet cough muffled into a sleeve. Two kids are half laying across the old couch, heads lolling toward each other like a pair of worn-out marionettes. One of them has their fingers tucked under their chin, like they might start dreaming whether they want to or not. Nobody talks. Not because they've run out of things to say, but because this part doesn't need words. This is the part that just... island. The garage holds the silence with both hands. It's not empty. It's cradled, contained. The walls, the beams, even the half-open door all seem to lean in a little, forming a shape that feels just right. Not like a room, more like a pause, a held breath. A warm pocket of stillness suspended somewhere between the end of the day and the beginning of whatever comes next. A soft breeze pushes through the open part of the garage door, brushing lightly over the tops of everyone's arms and faces. Someone pulls their knees in closer, not because they're cold, but because it feels good to curl into something. You rest your head against the metal door frame and let the cold seep into your skin just slightly, just enough to notice the contrast. The flashlight, which had been set down on its side earlier, casts a crooked beam across the floor. The light is faint now, running on tired batteries. It creates a slanted oval that lands on the old milk crate and stretches toward the shelf, dimming every few minutes, like it's trying to sleep too. The beam flickers briefly as someone shifts nearby, sending shadows skittering across the far wall like they're whispering a final secret before disappearing. The Stegosaurus is still exactly where it was, regal, unreadable, maybe even a little smug. The fan hums a low note of solidarity. A cricket starts chirping just outside. It's joined by a few others, scattered across yards and bushes and cracks in the sidewalk. Their rhythm is uneven at first. Shy, maybe, but it builds slowly into something more consistent, more intentional. Like they've all agreed this is the right time to sing. You close your eyes, not to sleep, just to feel everything differently. The concrete beneath you is smooth and warm, with a few grains of something gritty clinging to your forearm. You don't brush them away. They're part of this. You listen. Fan. Crickets. Soft breath. A distant television through someone's screen door. The kind of fuzzy, half-heard sound that could be game show music or just a commercial with too many bells. One of the kids makes a noise. Not a word. Just a contented sigh, and the silence folds around it. Then continues. You shift slightly and pull your legs in. Cross them at the ankles. Rest your elbows on your knees and your chin in your hands. The concrete smells different now, more like stone than dust. Like it's exhaled all the heat it had been holding all day and is ready to rest, too. You hear someone whisper something, maybe a name, maybe a joke. It's too soft to catch. It's not repeated. The light inside the garage has dimmed into something even gentler now. Not dark, not quite, just muted. like the brightness has been turned down to preserve whatever sleep might be arriving soon. The corners of the garage look further away than they did earlier, as if the room has stretched a little, softened its edges to make room for dreaming. You look up at the ceiling again. The beams are almost invisible in the gloom, but you know where they are. You know which one has the frisbee, which one has the weird sticker someone tried to peel off last year but gave up halfway through. You know where the cobweb was. Maybe Still Island, it doesn't matter. These things don't need light to be real. Outside, the breeze picks up a little. You hear it run through the trees. Not loud, just enough to make the leaves shiver, like a quiet laugh from far away. You shift again, slower this time, letting your back settle against the wall, letting your shoulders fall into place. Your arms rest loosely in your lap. You don't need to hold anything. There's nothing to carry. Someone behind you lets out a tiny snore, the first real sign that someone has drifted off completely. It's not embarrassing. No one even reacts. It just becomes part of the room. You exhale, and the garage feels smaller now, closer. Not claustrophobic, just gathered. Everything you need is in here. The half-empty bag of snacks, the creaking couch, the quiet radio still humming a signal that no one's really listening to, but no one dares turn off. The shelves, the dinosaur, the kids, the quiet. You don't think about where you'll go after this, or what time at Island, or what anyone's doing tomorrow. This is the part of the day where everything narrows down into something warmer, simpler. The weight of your arms, the sound of the fan, the way your body fits into the floor like it always belonged here. You stay still. The fan clicks again. The flashlight goes out. The radio hums. And outside, the world gets quieter still. The moment doesn't end. It just stretches until there's nothing left to stretch. Like warm gum pulled slowly between fingers, thinning into nothing. The light has fully drained from the sky now. What's left is that soft, bluish grayness that isn't quite night, but close enough that your eyes stop trying to adjust. You can still see everyone, just dimly. Shapes where people used to be. Slouched figures, heads leaned back, knees bent at odd angles that somehow feel right. The garage has gone almost completely still. No one's left yet. No one said, "I should go," or "What time is it?" or even stood up to stretch. It's as if the group made an unspoken pact to avoid anything that would suggest the end. The fan hums in support. Its wobble now too slow to be useful, too consistent to be ignored. You lean further back, letting your spine press against the wall behind you. You don't need a cushion. Not tonight. The hard surface feels grounding, like a page being folded before the book is closed. The flashlight lies cold beside your shoe. One kid is fully asleep now, arms crossed over their chest like they lost a battle they didn't mind losing. Another one stares straight up, eyes open but unfocused, mouth slightly open, like they're watching thoughts drift above them that they don't plan to chase. You can't remember what time you arrived, and now it no longer matters. If someone told you you'd been here for 3 hours or 8, you'd believe either. This day has stretched itself into something that doesn't respect numbers. It respects breath, weight, warmth, silence, and the quiet understanding that not every moment needs to be named. You notice a small cut on your leg, dried and barely visible. Probably from earlier when someone's handlebars scraped your shin and you pretended it didn't hurt. You ran around 5 minutes longer to prove it didn't matter. Now it's just part of the night. A little line that might turn into a scab, then a scar, or nothing at all. You'll forget how it happened, eventually, but not the day. The shelf still stands. No one's touched it since Ella's ritual rearranging. The ceramic cat leans a little to the left now, as if listening. The jar of buttons catches no light, yet still manages to glint. You wonder if in 10 years someone will find that jar and wonder why anyone kept it. Maybe they'll keep it anyway, because that's what you do with things that don't make sense but still feel like home. There's a hum outside now, faint, electric. One of the streetlights flickers. The others stand tall, casting weak yellow halos across empty lawns and sleepy sidewalks. A few moths gather under the nearest one, flitting around like thoughts you had earlier but forgot to hold on to. The garage air is cooler now. Not cold, just enough to make you tuck your arms in. The kind of cool that invites blankets, even when you don't have one. You settle deeper into your shirt, folding yourself slightly, breathing slower than before. A single plastic bag drifts across the sidewalk, catching a gust of breeze that spins it lazily down the block. It looks like it has somewhere to be. You silently root for it. Someone shifts inside, a quiet grunt of adjustment, then stillness again. You think, not for the first time, that if this moment lasted forever, it wouldn't be so bad. You've forgotten what your phone looks like. You know it's in someone's backpack, maybe yours. But the idea of screens, messages, blinking alerts, all of it feels far away now, like a version of life that belongs to someone else. This version, garage floor, tired arms, dusty air, feels more real than anything you've swiped through in months. You glance again at the doorway. The sky is dark now, fully committed. The outside world is wrapped in the gentle hush that only comes when everyone's too tired to pretend they have somewhere to be. Even the insects have quieted down. Or maybe they've just found a better song to sing, one too soft for humans to hear. No one's left the garage. Not really. A few might be half awake, half dreaming, but they're still here. Still together. Still held by the same lazy gravity that's kept you all grounded since mid-afternoon. And you think, this might be one of the last times. You don't say it out loud. That would be too much, too sharp. But somewhere, tucked behind your ribs, the thought sits quietly. One day someone's going to say, "Remember that summer?" And someone else will say, "Yeah, the one where we were always in that garage?" And someone else might smile, not say anything, but remember the exact creak of the fan and the weird way the dinosaur kept turning slightly between visits. Maybe you'll grow out of this. Maybe you already are. But not tonight. Tonight you're still here. Arms folded, legs sore, throat dry, mind quiet. You're here with the Stegosaurus, with the dusty shelves, with the kids who will become blurry silhouettes in memory someday, but are still sharply real now. You take a deep breath, let it out slowly. The concrete beneath you is cooler now, but it still holds the heat of the day, just faintly, like a whisper against your skin. Like it remembers the weight of every footstep, every laugh, every crumb, every breath. You don't say goodbye. No one does. Instead, the night takes you in. The quiet wraps around your shoulders, and you let it. You close your eyes, not to sleep, not yet, but to rest within the moment. To let it fill you completely before it has the chance to slip away. And here you remain, not thinking forward or backward, just here, breathing, still, warm, exactly where you need to be. The last light in the garage doesn't come from the sky. It's the soft, diffused glow of a neighbor's porch light, filtering in from across the street and stretching in long, thin streaks across the cracked concrete floor. It doesn't reach far, just enough to outline a few scattered feet, the edge of a milk crate, and one arm of the couch where a kid's elbow now rests limp in sleep. Everything else is in shadow, and you are too. Curled now, one arm beneath your head, cheek resting on the inside of your elbow. The ground beneath you is firm, uneven in small ways, but familiar. It smells like rubber and pine needles, and the kind of dirt that never fully leaves your clothes. Your breathing has slowed into a steady rhythm, in cool air that brushes gently across your nose, thin and dry, out. Warmth that gathers and disappears, like fog drifting off a lake. No one says anything anymore, not even whispers. No rustling, no stretching, no yawns. Only the radio, faint, buried beneath a layer of fuzz, mumbles something unintelligible, the way dreams do just before they dissolve. And the fan, still holding on. One slow turn, then still. Then nothing. Your fingers twitch once, then quiet again. Behind you, someone shifts slightly in their sleep. You hear the soft drag of fabric against concrete, the quiet click of a shoe brushing the floor, the faintest sigh from deep in their throat. It rises, rests, fades. Outside, the wind has settled. The moths are gone. The streetlight stays on. You let your eyes close again. There's nothing to see, and even if there were, you've already memorized it. The shelf and its dusty cargo, the tiny chalk marks no one remembers drawing, the shape of the ceiling beams that, in your mind, will always be taller than they really are. You can still smell the day on your skin, that warm, grassy tang that only comes from being outside for hours without thinking about anything else. The faint sweetness of the soda that spilled on your shirt earlier. The sun, now long gone, still lingers as heat along the backs of your legs. You shift your weight gently. Your shirt crinkles softly under your ear, and then you stop. There's no need to move, no place to go, no version of this moment that could be improved by doing anything at all. You stay still, breathe in. Air catches softly in your throat, round and full. Breathe out. The weight of your chest lowers, warm and slow. Time doesn't press here. It glides past you like soft wind through tree branches, never asking you to follow. It moves, but it does not pull. The garage, still and shadowed now, hums not with energy, but memory. The scent of wood, oil, and long-forgotten school supplies drifts through the room. Even with your eyes closed, you can feel the walls near you, holding everything in a quiet, familiar silence. Someone on the couch murmurs something, a half-dream, half-thought. You catch no words, just the tone, soft, fading. The flashlight is cold now, its batteries spent. The shelf remains untouched. The stegosaurus watches, as always. You shift one last time, slowly pulling your legs in, knees bent loosely, one arm curling to rest across your ribs. You breathe in deeper now. Your body sinks further. The crickets are quieter now, or maybe you've just moved further from the world that listens for them. Outside, a curtain flutters in a window across the street. A shadow passes behind it, perhaps someone reaching for a glass of water or turning off a lamp, or standing in silence as they glance outside and notice the soft shape of a child curled just inside a half-open garage door, asleep. Your body is let go. Your thoughts, once threaded with curiosity and memory and wondering, now stretch like fabric, thin, warm, and wide. They no longer press forward or reach backward. They simply drift. Your breath slows again. In, the scent of dust and warm wood. Out, a soft noise from the radio, like someone finishing a sentence you didn't hear the start of. You are no longer waiting for anything. The night is not hurrying. The porch lights will turn off eventually, on their own. And you will still be here. held in the slow hush of everything that mattered about this day, this summer, this room, this feeling. You are not alone, and you are not needed. Not now, not for anything. Everything is where it should be. The stegosaurus, the couch, the shoes, the radio, your hands, your body, your breath. There is nothing more to think, nothing more to see, only warmth, stillness, and sleep.